everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Joining me today is Moorhouse from Moorhouse HQ. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well, hanging out in the Castle de Moorhouse.
That house in Canada, is that what that is?
That is that house in Canada. It's up north of 60.
Love it. Welcome to Nitro's Take, where we kind of take a look at events and I kind of give my opinion and basically feedback on events as they happened. But this event happened 20 years ago, so this is an event that I've seen numerous times. I know that you have seen Moorhouse, this pay-per-view, several times in the past as well.
One of my VHS tapes, to be honest.
Oh, okay. There we go. So you had the WWF home video version of this. I had the box set version of this, so I will get to that when we get to that point. But it is a look back at the 2001 WWF Royal Rumble. So we're taking a look today at the 2001 Royal Rumble match in particular, but we'll also be talking about the event at large. It emanated from the New Orleans Arena in New Orleans, Louisiana. The date was January 21st, 2001. And of course, the New Orleans Arena now is now brand new due to corporate sponsorships and that stuff, Smoothie King Center, in which I have had the honor and privilege of watching live wrestling emanate from when I took my WrestleMania trip down there in 2014.
Good little arena, home of the NBA team, the Pelicans.
Very big seats in the lower bowl. The seats were large, and coming from where I come from here, Edmonton, Alberta, our building at the time, Rexall Place, was very antiquated with the seats and very small compared to, what the super arenas or even arenas that were built in the last 20 to 30 years in the United States were like. But I was very, very impressed with the Smoothie King Center / New Orleans Arena. The giant wide concourses. There's not a bad seat in the house, even if you were up on the second level or anything. Just even for the caliber. Well, it was basically we were there for the Hall of Fame. So I was on the floor for the Hall of Fame in 2014, and Monday Night Raw, in which I was up on the risers a little bit. I wasn't on the floor for Monday Night Raw. I was on kind of maybe row 6 or 7 of the risers on the camera side. So I'm all over that Raw taping where Paige and AJ Lee are, fighting for the Divas Championship, and Paige ends up making her debut and winning the Divas title. And that's the one where the Shield and Evolution square off at the end. And most famously or infamously, Ultimate Warrior made his final television appearance that night as well in his final promo. So that was, gosh, that's hard to believe that that's already about 7 years ago now. It'll be 7 years ago this April. So,
and it was filmed for a feature movie at a different arena to mimic the New Orleans Arena between a girl who looks like Paige and Zelina Vega.
Yes, exactly. For Fighting With My Family, they reshot the entire thing at the Staples Center in Los Angeles after a Raw taping way back when. So there we go. But we're going to go even way back before then. We're going back to 2001. We're going to run down the undercard here. But the main purpose of this video is the Royal Rumble match itself. We're going to take a look at the 30 men who competed in the WWF at the time Royal Rumble for 2001 and see which one out of the 30 would have had a legit shot at WrestleMania X-Seven and the main event. The pool might actually be bigger than you imagine it to be. So this is why the point of discussion is presented to us here in this video. Moorhouse, you were the pitch man for this idea. Kind of explain this. I think I did a good job of doing it, but you can elaborate a little bit more on this idea.
So I was watching Rumble 2000, which is the year before this, a couple of weeks ago, and while watching it, we were watching every entrant in that Rumble match, and it came to the conclusion that there was only 2 legitimate contenders to win the whole thing out of all 30 guys that were in there.
Mhm.
That would have been the Big Show and The Rock. They built it all around those 2 guys. Everyone
Yep.
else was just filler. So I'm like, well, okay, so I would like to go through every Rumble maybe in the future and just see, like, was it a good Rumble? Was it a bad Rumble based on the amount of talent that was in there and their legit shot to be a main event? Which I know the guy I was watching it was his Rumble 2000 was his favorite. I'm like, how? There's only 2 legit guys.
I was thinking about that after you had mentioned it, and yeah, I mean, you look at it at that entrance list, and I'm going to cheatsy doodle a little bit here. I watched the 2000 and 2001 Royal Rumbles in preparation for this piece that we're shooting today on this. I'm just going to creep this into frame here. It is the complete anthology WWE Royal Rumble box set that was released in 2001, or sorry, 2007, 2007 actually, because it has the 2007 Royal Rumble in here. And on the opening of the, I'll pop a picture of it here up right now. On the opening of the box set, it's a giant box set that kind of opens up in the middle, and you pop open the flaps, and there's 4 or 5 discs to each volume, if you will. They have headshots of all of the winners up to 2007. And when you get up to 2007, it says winner not known at time of manufacturing or whatever. And it's just vacant, basically sitting there with his arm up like that. And of course, that would be the Rumble that Shawn Michaels won, I think. No, that was Undertaker, was it not?
Taker,
yes,
yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I know Shawn Michaels and Undertaker had an epic, like 30-minute match after the match. Like it felt like a house show type thing. So, very, very cool. Very.
That was Taker winning and going to fight Edge at Mania.
Yes, exactly. It was that one in itself might be a fun Rumble to take a look back to, because I think that was the Rumble where Sandman kind of got lost and was in the Final 4 by accident. One of these days.
Is that similar to when Sandman was almost McMahon's illegitimate child? Because he forgot his cue to leave
Same
the
time
ring.
period, yeah.
Yeah.
Same time period.
Mind you, I would have loved Sandman McMahon. That would have been a great gimmick.
Yeah. I think it would have that would have been the crowning piece of the ECW storyline, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Other than what we got. But anyways, there we go. So back to 2000, if you flip open the volumes on this, there is a match card for each Rumble. Tells you what's on the card and everything like that. And it has also the Royal Rumble match order of entry as well. So in the days before Wikipedia, this was awesome. This was what people used to basically figure out who was coming out next and that stuff. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the order of elimination or anything, but this is a invaluable in the days before the Chris Benoit thing and PG and you name it. This is invaluable to take a look at, what matches and who enters when in past Rumbles, which is amazing. So, yeah, but just a quick perusal of this. You could make the argument for Kane potentially in 2000 to be up there, but you are absolutely right. We've got. I'm just looking to see where Big Show comes in. Big Show's in at 26 in 2000, and
Kane was also in a gimmick where he was being abused by DX at the time.
That's right. Yes. I'm just looking to see where The Rock was. The Rock was 24. So, yeah, you're right though. There was maybe 2 guys in 2000 in the Royal Rumble that legit had a shot at the WrestleMania main event. They got hooked up, as we all know, with the other 2 guys that fought in a street fight for the WWE Championship, Triple H versus Cactus Jack. In the match prior to it, that Triple H ended up winning, but both guys did stretcher jobs out of Madison Square Garden that night, and we got the one of the weaker WrestleMania main events, in my opinion, that year in 2000, with the 4-corner McMahon in every corner, schmoz in Anaheim, I guess.
Which, according to sources later on, wasn't the original planned main event.
No.
They wanted Jericho in Foley's spot.
Yes, they did, but they felt that Jericho still
wasn't ready. Yeah,
wasn't ready. But by the end of this year, 2001, that we're taking a look at, he definitely would be ready, and 2002 would be a player at the 02 Royal Rumble. Well, basically starting, in December of 01. So.
Yeah,
anyways,
watching 2000, I think what we came up with is the only guys who were legit maybe contenders to win. Big Boss Man.
Okay.
Because he was in high-profile storylines at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Val Venus, we could have said, okay, we could see that.
Okay.
The Rock, Rikishi, and Big Show.
Yes. All right, there we go. And then, like I said, I would have made the argument for Kane, but you were talking about the storyline that Kane was in at the time too. So, let's jump to 2001, and we'll take a look at the card itself that we were discussing off camera, the Sunday Night Heat contest, which ends in a minute 57, and it is Lowdown, the infamous tag team of Lowdown, Chaz and D'Lo Brown, with Tiger Ali Singh defeating Kai and Tai, which was Funaki and Taka Michinoku. 2 minutes left. I was shocked that Funaki and Michinoku probably didn't get over in this one, Moorhouse, just due to the fact that the year before, Taka Michinoku takes one of the all-time greatest Royal Rumble bumps in being eliminated out of the Royal Rumble match in history, to the point where Jerry the King Lawler calls it up on replay about 7 or 8 times during the Rumble match. And he's like, can I take a look at that again? Look at him hit. Look at him hit. It's great.
The whole gimmick with Kai and Tai in that Rumble is they weren't even in. They were just coming in to just cause chaos every 4 or 5 minutes for no reason.
Right. And
then the second attempt, I think Taka landed face first on his nose, got a bad concussion, and broke his nose.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think somebody had enough of it. It might have been, was it Kane or was it one of the super heavyweights just absolutely launches him in that one. I think
it was Rikishi that threw him.
Was it Rikishi? Yeah. Yeah.
So because they couldn't do Kai and Tai run spot, I think later on they did a Mean Street run spot where they did the exact same thing.
Gotcha.
And then that one, Pete Gas actually broke his nose on the rope.
So now quickly, let's take a look at the undercard of the actual pay-per-view. The pay-per-view opens with the Dudley Boyz, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley defeating Edge and Christian for the WWF Tag Team Championship in just under 10 minutes at 9:59. It depends on what site you look at for the runtime for that. Some of them is 10 minutes, some of them is 9:59. Still a solid opener. There was never a bad Edge and Christian versus Dudley's match. There was never a bad Hardy Boys versus Dudley's match. There was never a bad Edge and Christian versus Hardy's Dudley's match, or you name it. As this is just build up for which one was it? TLC 2 at WrestleMania X-Seven, I believe.
Yes, they would have had TLC 2 coming up around the corner. The tag team scene in the 2000s, 2001 was hot as heck. Mm-hmm. You had Dudleys, you had Edge and Christian, you had the Hardys, you had the Acolytes, you had Too Cool, you had Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, you had Billy Gunn and other people.
It ended up being Chuck Palumbo at the end of the year, but yeah, there we go.
And then R-Truth and yeah.
Yep.
So tag team scene was really hot. The Hollies were there. It was fun to watch.
Yep. We will see the aforementioned R-Truth as K-Quick later on, and we'll talk about him in the Rumble match, as he is an entrant in the Rumble match. So that, again, solid opener there. The cool thing about this too is it also separates the on the match description. It also tells you what each chapter is titled. So right after this, I have Drew Carey arrives at the arena. So there's that little you know, you've seen the event more often than I have. But there's that little vignette of Drew coming into the arena and I think being welcomed by Vince and Trish, is it not?
Triple H first he bumps into.
Okay.
And then Tripp's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I was just hanging out promoting my pay-per-view. That's next weekend," because he's there to promote some improv comedy pay-per-view that he launched. And he makes some jokes about old wrestlers, like, "Oh, I just ran into like Kamal at the airport." You know, Triple H is like, "Yeah, whatever."
Yeah. Improv was huge in 2001 at this time. It would be huge throughout the entire year of 2001, thanks to basically, well, Drew Carey, Ryan Stiles, Wayne Brady, Colin Mockery, that core four for Whose Line Is It Anyway, which was the American version of it. It was the American version of the British. It started to be a game. It started out as a game show. It ended up just being a improv comedy series of just exploiting feeder sports and bringing it out to the main public. So that was, you know, that time and place. And God, I remember, I think it was on here every Wednesday night or so on like several stations. You could have like a 2-hour block if you timed it correctly of Whose Line Is It Anyway. And it was different episodes if you just paid attention to what was on your TV guide. So
it was one of the hottest things on TV at the time. It was ABC's flagship.
Yeah, it was on ABC. Yeah, that's right. So there we go. And so this pay-per-view, probably something similar to that. I would imagine you could probably find that on YouTube if you searched hard enough, the actual pay-per-view broadcast, if you wanted to see the results of that one. But there we go. The ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship was up next. We had the champion, Chris Jericho. No, the champion was Chris Benoit going into this one, taking on the challenger, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho ends up walking out with the championship at 1844. And this is one of the all-time great ladder matches. Even with the tarnished legacy of Chris Benoit now, I still think that this match is up there in the top 5 for ladder matches that have emanated from any promotion. It's everything. It's hard hitting. It's got that ECW style to it. The dives to the outside, the surfboard on top of the ladder, you name it. Just so many. It is match of the card for sure. It is match of the night. It is the show stealer. Jericho has stated in the past that this is one of his top 5 favorite matches of all time. And Moorhouse, as a fan of this pay-per-view, what do you think looking back at this match 20 years later, basically?
Yeah, no, it's a fun ladder match. Benoit and Jericho always had great chemistry with each other. They were able to work with each other very well. They did some unique spots like the Walls of Jericho on the ladder, which was more of a surfboard than a Walls of Jericho.
Yeah.
Some crazy stuff with the ladder. Ladder matches were very common at the time. I think there was one almost every month, but they definitely made the ladder match with this title and this date really last throughout history. It's one of the ladder matches you can bring up anytime.
Does the actions of Benoit later on in his life, in the final few days of his life, tarnish this at all for you, watching it back?
You got to take yourself out of that. Like, you just got to appreciate the work that they put in together. You can't really think about that because if you do, you're just going to be in a negative space. We all know that with Chris, he had his own demons. He had his own issues. He could have been taken care of better by the company. It would have probably helped out in the long term, but it's a good match. I don't look back at Benoit matches and make an effort to watch them, but if it's on, yeah, I'll watch it.
Very good stuff. Yeah, no, I was just telling you off camera before we started this, is I found a off pay-per-view rip of this match on a ladder match compilation that a bunch of people had sent to me during my tape trading days and that stuff. And we'll get into that maybe one day as well. That's kind of a good filler episode for one of these weekends or one of these weeks to talk about here on the channel, is my tape trading days and and how that ended up. It ended up with me basically having Sterlite containers full of previously blank DVDs, but with hours and hours of independent cards of really, really, really good wrestling on it. So it was a benefit for me. But yeah, so I've had the chance to watch the off-air pay-per-view rip of this match, and also the one from the box set as well. Haven't had a chance to watch this yet on the network, so maybe this might be a thing where one day I'll just fire up the network to see how this match plays on the WWF network, WWE network, I should say. Get the F out. But yeah, it is. Like I said, it's match of the night. Just hard hitting, dungeon style, like just ground and pound. It's very ECW. And yeah, and ECW is still in operation, but barely at this point. I think they run their last two house shows about a week or two prior to this pay-per-view. And this kind of is kind of a homage to that style. So it is a great match to watch, and definitely the one match on the undercard that you should watch and check this thing out, because it is a trip 20 years later. It feels like it could work well today too. So
yeah, it's a perfect match. You say best match in a card. Now we're going to go to, I think, one of the worst matches of 2001 coming up next.
The women's championship match between Ivory and Chyna, and just looking to see who the champion was. Ivory was the champion going into this match. This match only runs 3 minutes and 32 seconds. And the major storyline in this match is Chyna hitting a backhand spring elbow, which was one of her signature moves at the time, to Ivory in a corner, and then automatically selling her neck. Yeah, that's it. That's finish right there.
The problem I have with this, you can check out Gurley and JR because they actually discussed this match very recently in their catalog.
Okay. Yep.
Chyna didn't want to lose to Ivory. Like, she did not refuse to lose to Ivory unless it was some kind of gimmick. The gimmick that the writers in Chyna came up with was doing a spot similar to when Owen Hart fell from the rafters, where Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross act like this is the worst day in wrestling history. Lawler goes out, checks on her neck, and then goes back to Mike's like, I don't know. I didn't see any movement. I don't know.
And that's not even a year after, everything that happened in Kansas City as well. So that's kind of that's a cringeworthy deal there. And they would do that sometimes too. And that's certainly not it's one of the first times they've done it, but it's certainly not the only time they've done it, is what I'm trying to say. Especially in TV from 2001 on to, basically 2005, 2006 is when they kind of, stopped going to that well a little bit. I can think of in 2001, a couple of instances. One was Undertaker's wife, Sarah, at the time, even though that's an angle. They sent Lawler over to help her out after I think a misdirection spot in the match or something like that, and Undertaker crashed into her while he was wrestling TDP or something, and there's a stretcher job. I think it's prior to the Invasion pay-per-view, and again with the hushed tones and everything and whatever. And then the legit matches where people got actually hurt in, i.e. Triple H in that infamous Raw match later that year in 2001, it's like at the end of the show and they just rush everybody off the TV. That's it. It's like, all right, show's over, folks. See ya. Like that. And it's, it's quite the dichotomy. It's weird.
Yeah, it's just even in the Gurley and JR podcast, he says that he felt very uncomfortable with the whole presentation that he had to give during that match. And he disagreed with what Chyna wanted to do, but Chyna had a bit of creative control and pull. So they let her come up with that solution.
They would end up blowing this feud off at WrestleMania X-Seven, and Chyna would finally face Ivory one-on-one. And it's a shortish match, but she walks out with the women's title and then promptly walks out of the company shortly thereafter. Yay.
We could do a whole podcast on Chyna and, you know, her demons and her stories. And
I think we could. Yeah, I think we could, and maybe table that for later this year. We'll do that, or in the future here on the channel. Yeah. So that's all I can say about that. According to the DVD chapter list here, Trish Stratus and Stephanie McMahon Helmsley confrontation happens right after all this schmozzle in the ring. So
this is the famous storyline of Vince has having relations with Trish while they drugged out Linda, so she has comatose for the whole thing. And then Stephanie's furious because Trish is trying to take some of her money from her dad, and it's just complete soap opera.
It is. It's the best that Linda McMahon has ever acted on television, because it's just sitting there just like that. And it's looking back at this day, or looking back at this 20 years removed, it is so cornball and so cheesy. It is like, wow. But you put this on TV now and it would fit in with the storylines of today. The problem is the storylines of today that are coming out of WWE aren't very good, and this storyline here wasn't very good. But you know, it was, yeah, it's planting the seeds again. WrestleMania, Mr. McMahon versus Shane McMahon, and of course the biggest seed of all would drop on March 26th of 2001 with the purchase of WCW and Shane McMahon showing up on the final Nitro to basically push McMahon versus McMahon as the big go home angle for WrestleMania X-Seven. So, you know, this program would get a lot better as the months would go on, but just right now at this point, it's just, it's terrible story.
It's terrible. Then it gets better. Then it gets really bad.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty bad right now.
Can you believe for the 20th anniversary of WCW leaving and the invasion storyline? We're old.
Yeah, we are. There's no way to put it around. It's funny. I was trying to explain to people at at work and other places and that stuff when AEW made their debut on TNT, how big of a moment it is for TNT to have wrestling, and everybody was like, oh cool, TNT has wrestling now. It's like, TNT used to have wrestling and it was good wrestling back in the day.
They had WCW, they had Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, they had tons of stuff.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And you try to explain it to these young kids and they look at you like you have a third eye or something. It's like, what? Really? This is a new thing. What are you talking about? So, all right. And finally, the final match of the undercard, the WWE Championship match, or WWF Championship match at the time, Kurt Angle versus Triple H. And Kurt Angle, I believe, yes, Kurt Angle was the champion walking in. Kurt Angle had Trish in his corner. Triple H had Stephanie in his corner. And this was, again, they were just continuing from the segment before. But, you know, very shocking finish to this thing where Stone Cold Steve Austin actually comes out and costs Triple H his shot at the WWF title, and Kurt Angle walks out. Would we see a repayment or repercussions of this later on in the night or later on in the storyline? Oh, hell yeah, we would. But this was the catalyst for all of the night's activities, basically around the Rumble match.
Yep. Triple H and Steve haven't settled their feud from over a year now. Basically the whole storyline is Triple H hired Rikishi to run over Stone Cold Steve Austin. He did that. Rikishi turned heel. Stone Cold beat Rikishi. They found out the true master plan was Triple H, and their feud was still ongoing at this time.
Even though Rikishi would say that he did it for the Rock. He did it for the Rock. Yeah, no, good times, good stuff. That was a trip to go back on and then realize, oh yeah, that's right. This is all out of the Austin surgery angle. That's right. So that Austin could get the spinal surgery done. That ended up kind of elongating his career somewhat. It gave him maybe another couple years or so, but then by early part of 2003 was basically done at that point. But
Yeah.
there we go.
But it's a rare to have a world title match on a major pay-per-view of a heel versus a heel.
Yes, exactly. But I see, the thing is, I wouldn't consider Kurt a true full-blown heel back then. I'd consider him more of a tweener than anything else.
He was a whiny heel. He was a heel who used to run away from a match or purposely get disqualified.
He was a comedic heel, whereas you had Triple H, who was kind of more of the cerebral, bare bones type heel at the time.
Yeah, Kurt Angle liked to put on a cowboy hat and play the ukulele.
Exactly. So, all right. This sets up the main event, which is the Royal Rumble match of 2001. And we get, on the pay-per-view, we get like a full... it was weird because the copy of the pay-per-view that I watched out of the box set, they've redubbed the music, which was kind of a common thing that WWE would do with their box sets and past pay-per-views and that stuff during the mid-2000s. And again, I have not seen the version of this pay-per-view that is on the WWE network as of yet. I might give it a watch, but I would think the music's redubbed there too, because they used a lot of licensed music at the time for hyping pay-per-views and everything like that.
I don't think they really used theme music until later on in 2001.
Okay, maybe this was
during the Invasion storyline. That's when we finally got theme songs. And so it would have been just Jim Johnson.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing anything right now. But it's even if they did use Jim Johnson at the time here, it's very it sounds like they've redubbed it on the DVD set to something else. Like they had something playing and then they dubbed it something else. And they did that with Undertaker's entrance as well in the Rumble match here, because he was using Rollin' by Limp Bizkit at the time, but they redubbed it with his You're Gonna Pay theme, which would make
O2,
from O2. So they stepped into DeLorean and then delivered this tape from the future.
But it's just like, even if you get like the Godwins or they always just come out with generic chicken music.
Yeah. Generic chicken music. Hashtag that, and let's get that trending on Twitter. Generic chicken music. Anyway. All right. So we'll go through the match order of entry. And like I said, we'll do the thing where we are going to take a look at, as they enter, if they were a legit contender or not. And maybe we'll talk about their fate in the Rumble match itself as this goes. So Fink does the introductions, and number one is Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy at the time is, like I said, enveloped in this tag team triangle thing with Edge and Christian and the Dudley boys and everything. So he's solid on a mid card. I don't think he's main eventing Mania in 2001 because they got too much going on with that triangle tag team ladder TLC stuff that they're building up for.
Jeff Hardy would have a fantastic wrestling career, which is still going on today. In 2001, we got to see some of that build later in the year when he started to win his own singles titles. Mm-hmm. But at this point, Royal Rumble, he is not at that level yet.
Nope, not indeed. He ends up pairing off with Right to Censor's Bull Buchanan, who drew number 2.
B Squared
had no shot at the main event scene in 2001, sadly, because we're talking about a guy who would Right to Censor would routinely get wins on Sunday Night Heat, maybe a little bit on Raw, maybe a little on SmackDown. Maybe they proved to be the foil on SmackDown too from time to time. He might get a rare main event match on SmackDown if like they wanted to build The Rock in a handicap match with Buchanan and the Good Father or something like that, or
I think he had a feud with John Cena when John Cena started the hip hop gimmick too.
He did. Yep. That would be a few years later. That would be 2003-ish. But at this point,
at this level, Bull is a jobber, and jobbers do not go to WrestleMania.
No, sorry. Jobbers end up in the Battle Royal at Access, so that's where he was. Entrant number 3, Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy was number 3.
Same story as Jeff Hardy. He'll start to get his own single run near the end of the year. But at this point, he's not quite at that level yet. And his career's still going. Like, we don't know the story of Matt Hardy yet.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way, Bull Buchanan only lasts 2 minutes and 8 seconds in the Rumble match. Jeff lasts 6 minutes and 36 seconds. Matt lasts 4 minutes and 45 seconds. The number 4 man is Farouk, and he lasts 58 seconds because he's eliminated by both Hardys. Buchanan was eliminated by both Hardys. Farouk in 2001 is solidly in the tag team division, and I think his main event days are behind him because he was huge in WCW as Ron Simmons. And
he was a former former NWA World Heavyweight Champion at one time.
NWA/WCW World Heavyweight Champion. There was a weird thing when Bill Watts took over that company where they kind of brought the NWA back in to beef the belt up, and
then when he came to WWE, he had a weird gimmick to start, but then he became the leader of Nation Domination, had a good run with them as an upper mid card. But he's already on the downwind of his career, so he's a good, solid mid carder, but he would be a poor choice for a main eventer.
He and Bradshaw are solidly put in that tag team division, and they're probably waiting in the wings, storyline wise, for whatever comes out of that tag team triangle at the top, for a chance at the titles and that stuff. So yeah, no shot at the main event scene in 2001, but definitely a piece that you want to have on your mid card during your shows, because solid worker and a tag team with a great gimmick that are major fan favorites at that time. So
they just drink beer and play poker.
This was, I think, the beginnings or kind of the middle of the APA, Acolyte Protection Agency type gimmick as well too, which was a great thing on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown that kind of brought out both men's kind of creative comedic side as well. So he's got his own thing going at the time, so it doesn't involve the main event, and nor should it. It's good. So number 5, Drew freaking Carey. Moorhouse, explain, please.
That'll put butts in seats. Drew Carey has 0 chance of winning the Rumble.
Well, no shit.
His career would go on. He would, he wouldn't be in the wrestling circle, but he'd definitely be on TV, and he'd become the major host of The Price is Right for the next 1,000 years.
That's right. Living on in syndication. And Drew Carey's show to this day, even though it was shot again 20 plus years ago, lives on in syndication. Whose line is it anyway? Lives on in syndication. So
do you think Drew Carey boosted this pay-per-view's prestige at all?
Did it bolster the prestige? I don't think so. I think that if anything, you look at it 20 years removed from it, it's like, wow, that's something that just, to me, seems strange. It's a weird pairing.
So on the Art Donovan scale, he'd be closer to Art Donovan?
Not right at the top of the Art Donovan scale, but I would put him, if we're going to rank him between...
Because on celebrity scale, I'd put it like we'd have Floyd Mayweather and Art Donovan.
Okay, because I was wondering what the 2 bookends would be on there.
Or Mickey Rourke and Art Donovan, yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, I wouldn't even rank Mickey Rourke as high as Floyd, though. Floyd was
near the top. Mike Tyson near the top.
Yeah.
Art Donovan, very bottom.
Very bottom? I'd put Drew in the middle. I'd put him in the middle, probably with... I'm getting a WrestleMania 7 vibe with him. Like with, the dearly departed Alex Trebek and Regis Philbin. Yeah. That group. Basically.
Yep. Just a weird cameo. He did get a Hall of Fame nod after this whole event for some reason.
He is in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
based on this one appearance. He never appeared ever again.
Man, they got my head hurts. Yeah, they have to. That I just brainstormed another podcast that you and I are going to have to do here, Moorhouse, getting closer to WrestleMania, about the WWE Hall of Fame and what we would do to change the entrance requirements of the Hall of Fame, because that is, I could see somebody like nowadays, like a Pat McAfee or even somebody along the lines of like a Pete Rose that made several appearances at WWE events over and over again. Arnold again as well.
I think even Bob Barker had more of a fun appearance in WWE than Drew Carey did.
Oh yeah, and get them in. But Drew Carey is in the Hall of Fame just because of a weird standoff that he had with, not even a standoff, but he just watched both Hardys kind of dump each other out of the corner of the ring, and then crapped his pants when Kane comes out at number 6. But spoiler alert, Kane comes out at number 6 right after. But
while we're talking, I want to see that pay-per-view buy for Drew Carey, see if that helped him at all.
That would be the rub, I would think. I don't think it would help out the WWE. I think it probably greatly helped Drew's pay-per-view that he had the week after, the Improvaganza or whatever it was.
No, Improvaganza was something else.
Okay.
Humor People. I'll just find here.
I thought that was the name of the pay-per-view. Was Humor People, the Drew Carey special. Well, while we are waiting on that, I will say that obviously both myself and Moorhouse think that Drew Carey had no chance of main eventing WrestleMania X-Seven, if that was safe to say. So
Improv All-Stars.
Improv All-Stars, okay.
And it grossed, where was it here? 957,000.
So it wasn't
48,000 buys.
48,000 buys for a total of $957,000 is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so just doing the math quickly on that.
And Rumble had 2.3 million coming.
I just want to see here as I dial up calculator. I want to see what the asking price was for the pay-per-view.
$20
for Drew, so $19.99, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, it was $19.95.
$19.95. Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah, Rumble killed it. Rumble got 2.6 million. So.
As it would. I'm sorry. Improv, feeder sports, and wrestling in 2001. There's no contest. I mean, we were doing feeder sports in high school drama at the time, and we were doing it probably as good, if not better, than the guys on TV. But the thing is that that's all in the eye of the audience member at that point. Pro wrestling was still drawing huge in 2001. I mean, this is the downward slide of the curve, but yeah. So it was definitely they probably brought him in for mutual whatever, but yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Hall of Fame Drew Carey. Anyway, moving on.
Number 6, Kane. Yes, I think that this is the first person I'm going to put a check mark beside a definite yes that they could have looked at potentially main eventing WrestleMania X-Seven. I think that they probably looked at Kane because he was being booked as a juggernaut face monster, along with Undertaker at this point. And he goes on a tear during this Rumble. This is the Rumble where he set the most amount of eliminations by a single competitor record, which stood until about 2015 or so, when Roman finally broke it. And that is, just shows you how much faith they have with him in the company. We'll go ahead and fast forward to the end. He's in the final 2. He's the guy that Austin immediately knocks out with the free chair shots. unprotected chair shots, by the way, because it's 2001, and the clothesline, and that's the story right there. So yeah, Kane is the glue that holds this Rumble together. And yes, do I think he had a real shot at main eventing X7? I don't care what Pritchard says. I don't care what Conrad says. I don't care what anybody else says. I say, yes, he did. I think he was a legit contender.
Absolutely. This was Kane. I feel like they rebuilt Kane during this whole pay-per-view. Because 2000 Kane was, he had an okay run. 99 kind of killed him, being best friends with X-Pac. But 98 Kane was great. So this is the best Kane's been since 98.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And he could have main evented there. I'd have no problem with that. He was a dominant monster.
Looking at the total of people that Kane eliminates in this Rumble, and it is it's staggering. So you got 2, 4, 6.
I think it's 11.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep. Because they give him a double credit with him and The Undertaker on a elimination later on. But, yep, it is 11. And that was the old record. And I think Roman broke that record. I think it's sitting at 12 now going into this year's Rumble. Because he's one more, I believe.
I want to see just, did Brock beat it, though?
Oh, maybe he did. Yeah, I don't know. Because I'm still thinking 2015 Roman,
Lesnar has the record now, yeah.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah, last year.
2019. Okay. And what's his number now?
16.
16. Okay. Well, maybe this year's Rumble, somebody walks in and goes 20 for 30 or something like that. Who knows? 16 is going to be awful tough. That's even logistically just rough because you're sending 16 guys out there and be like, okay, feed yourself to Brock. Brock will toss you.
Yeah.
And you're hoping Brock remembers to toss the guys over the top.
It's pretty much what happened.
Anyway, so Raven comes in at number 7 during the whole Drew Carey Kane schmoz. This was, I think, kind of towards the middle part to the end of Raven's run in WWF. Not so. No. Really?
No. Raven, I think, lasted till early 2003.
Okay.
But he did lose a match in after the invasion where the loser would have to be summoned to Heat forever.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So he became a Heat-only wrestler, but he created Raven's Playground just before he got fired.
Oh, man. Oh, and eventually he took that idea to TNA, which was a startup at the time, and that became the Clockwork Orange House of Fun kind of no rules, extreme rules type match that they had at the time. So, yeah, his WWF run is basically an attempt for him to get the Raven character over in WWF because it didn't get over as he's seen it in WCW. So
did Raven have a shot though?
In 2001? No, he's banished to the hardcore division at this point.
If he won, I wouldn't have been like, I would have like, okay, I think I get it. He wouldn't be my top choice. He wouldn't be in my top 5, but if he won it, it'd be because they're trying to build him back into his ECW. Because he was huge in ECW. Right. He was even pretty big in WCW.
Right. I don't see him winning that. I really don't. I don't see him in the main event of X-Seven.
He still got a good match at X-Seven, so.
No, yeah, he did. That hardcore title match was fun for all the individuals that were involved in it. It was basically for X-Seven here. I was going to get
it was Schuster and Kane.
X-Seven. Let's take a look here and see. I think it was a multi-man thing. I'm just going to take a look.
It was Big Show and Kane.
Yeah, it was Big Show and Kane. So there we go. It was a triangle match or triple threat or whatever.
It's famously Raven almost ran over the production lights and took
Took
the
some lights
pay-per-view
with them.
off the
Yeah,
air.
yeah, yeah. That would have been the greatest blunder of all time. Have somebody do that. Well, luckily, with their use of vehicles and that stuff, that's only happened once, and that was on Monday Night Raw in the fall of '98, I think, with Stone Cold Steve Austin and a Zamboni in Detroit, where he took the ice scraper along the cement floor of the Joe Louis Arena and ran over a bunch of cables and everything and knocked it off.
And he almost knocked down the Titantron too.
And he ran into the ring and knocked the ring off of its supports and you name it. So
he's what a reckless worker.
And the crowd went a banana. The crowd is nuts during that. So it's good stuff. It is good. It is good. All right. Our next individual, Al Snow, who doesn't wait for his music to be played. He kind of just runs down and attacks Raven because they had a feud over the hardcore title at the time.
Correct. Al Snow.
Al Snow.
He's not a legit contender. He's lower mid card, hanging out there. 99 Al Snow, early 99, he could have been a contender. But 2001 Al Snow, he's not a contender.
He could have been a contender, Rock. But he was not a contender here. He really, I don't think was a super choice. I think he's just filler at this point. And he would end up on Tough Enough towards the end of the year as a guest trainer and along with Ivory. And that would be his role going forward. So there we go. We have right after that Percy Saturn coming in at number 9. And I think this is basically, they're just stacking the ring at this point so Kane can just go absolutely nutso and start dumping people. But Percy Saturn in 2001, again, banished to the hardcore division. No real shot at the WrestleMania main event, in my opinion. And there we go.
But the one thing when I was watching this again is Saturn he's built. He has a great body at this time.
Yeah, he's ripped. He's a ripped dude. He's in the pairing with Terry at the time. So Terry is his valet, who he eventually throws to the curb for a mop.
Yeah, that was end of Saturn's career.
And yeah, that was it.
How to bury a wrestler in 3 easy steps.
Yep. Which, Saturn could have really benefited for another company that was around at the time to pick him up, either WCW or an ECW. The problem is those companies are gone by the end of March. So sorry, pal. That's it. And he's been an interesting figure to watch in the years subsequent to this. Just due to the fact that he's had a lot of negative things to say about his WWE run. He's had a lot of positive things to say about his ECW run, and then has had a lot of middle of the ground things to say about his WCW run, which almost nobody ever says. It's almost like reverse. Everybody has everything in the world positive to say about WWE and nothing nice to say about WCW. This guy is like the opposite of it. I know he's going through some health challenges right now and that stuff. So, sending out the classic T's and P's, thoughts and prayers. And hopefully, we get to see and hear more from him on like conventions and stuff, going forward, because I know that before he got sick again, I think, last year or so, or even before that in 2019, I know that he was starting to show up at a bunch of these conventions and that stuff and WrestleCons and you name it. And he's a very influential piece because he wrestled in WCW and got a mid-card push there, and wrestled in ECW and got a main event style push there, and went to WWF and did everything that he did too. So, that's a career for the ages, I would think. But
yeah, he came in with upper mid-card push to WWE, but he got pushed to the 4th member of that group quite fast.
But does Percy Saturn have a shot at the 2001 Royal Rumble to be at WrestleMania X-Seven? Nope. And is quickly dispatched. Steve Blackman, number 10. Uh, the charisma void of Steve Blackman. No, he is again banished to that hardcore division. It's weird. It's kind of like at this point in the Rumble, it's Kane versus all the hardcore division guys, and there's trash cans and kendo sticks and you name it in the ring, and Kane is just dispatching people left and right. So
Blackman is not going to WrestleMania.
yeah. Pure and simple. Number 11, Grandmaster Sexay. So Brian Christopher, Grandmaster Sexay, too cool, formerly too much. He gets in there and is did Kane gets rid of him? I think so, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kane's on a streak right now.
Yeah, Kane is on a streak right now. And if you have this copy of the Rumble, if you have the Rumble anthology, it includes the WW and you have it too on VHS. It includes the WWF home video bonus feature at the end of the video where Jonathan Coachman is in a studio running down the card basically and playing exclusive interviews. One of those exclusive interviews is with Grandmaster Sexay, who cuts one of the greatest post-match interviews ever, basically saying, 1 minute my music hits, I slide into the ring, and the next I'm looking at the lights outside of the ring. And is this match still going on? I don't know. It is the Lex Luger Super Brawl Saturday promo, a good 5 years prior to the Lex Luger Super Brawl Saturday promo. This is
Will I be
glorious.
there? I don't know. And your shirts are too tight, Billy.
Exactly. Just I don't know if that was his nature at the time, but Brian Christopher is doing a great job of somebody who has been knocked silly off of this one. So, but did Grandmaster Sexay have a shot at the main event of WrestleMania X-Seven? No, because again, he and
Tag team
and Scotty 2 Hotty tag team, and they are tearing it up on Heat, and they might occasionally get a tag title shot in this era. On Raw or something. So
much to Jerry Lawler's dismay, he will not be winning the Rumble.
Nope, not this time. So number 12, the returning legend, the first of 2 returning legends in this Rumble. It is the Honky Tonk Man, making his first appearance on WWE TV since the middle of 1997, if you can believe it. And shows up and to a great pop by the fans. The fans remember him. The fans love him. Kane is confused, moderately confused, then extremely confused, and then Kane gets extremely frustrated and slams Honky Tonk Man with the guitar to promptly dispatch him. Did Honky Tonk Man in 2001 have a legit shot at the main event for WrestleMania X-Seven?
Oh, no. Hell yes.
No. He's a legend. They still do this to this day. I think this was one of the first Rumbles where they actually started to do this, is where they would book a legend in to, come in.
I would say he does have a shot because young House at this time, when he was on the internet, he was part of the Honky Tonk Man's official website forum. So, of course, I wanted Wayne Ferris to win. That would have been great.
I didn't know this. So you were, okay, this might be a video in itself a little bit later on, folks. So you were part of the Honky Tonk Man's fan forum way back?
Yes, I was.
How and why?
Because I didn't really know much about the internet at the time, and I'm like, hey, all these guys are talking about wrestling. Sure, I'll drop in.
And it just happened to be the Honky Tonk Man's forum.
It was Honky Tonk Man's official forum.
You couldn't have stumbled upon a Dave Prazak thread from RSPW or America Online or something. It just was the Honky Tonk Man's forum.
Honky Tonk Man's Pro Boards account.
Oh, there's a name from the past. Wow. Oh, Pro Boards. Holy. Wow.
But to be honest, no, Honky Tonk Man was not going to win. Did people really want to pay to see The Rock versus Honky Tonk Man at WrestleMania with the Limp Bizkit's music in the background? You think you're special?
That's basically the litmus test. It's it's the licking the rock test, not, you know, licking Dwayne Johnson, but what scientists do when they're out in the field, and you know, is let's take these individuals as they pop up in the order and put them in Austin's spot in the Limp Bizkit video.
Yeah, which OSW does all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, well, 13 we do see The Rock comes in.
Do you see The Rock versus The Rock at WrestleMania?
That sounds like my sister and I playing No Mercy back in the day on the 64. She'd always pick who I was. So
it could be The Rock versus Don The Rock Morocco at WrestleMania
for Battle of the Rock, with Rikishi as a special guest referee saying, "I did it for The Rock. I did it."
Which one?
But anyways, yes. Well, obviously, do we see The Rock in the main event at WrestleMania X-Seven? Yes. He is the man. He is the blue chipper. He's the guy that you are building your company around right now. He is the guy that basically Vince wanted as champion going well into the new decade. And, you know, just everything, you know, explodes for him right after Hollywood, you name it. So, you know, 2001 is kind of the ascendancy of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And then 2002 through 2005 is we get that kind of initial burst of him as a celebrity, and then onwards and upwards. I guess we can consider this a celebrity appearance now at this point. No, we're just kidding. He was full-time in the roster with WWE at that time, WWF at that time. Yes. So far we have gone through 13 guys, in my opinion, and only 2 have legit real shots at this main event at WrestleMania X-Seven, Kane and The Rock. Yep.
The Rock deserves a chance to fight himself at WrestleMania. So I definitely see The Rock could win and main event WrestleMania. That's probably, he probably already guaranteed that.
Well, remember, at No Way Out is the title change where Angle loses the title to The Rock. So there we go.
So let's assume Kurt Angle's the main event right now. Then Kurt Angle, The Rock, yeah, I can see that.
Yes, because that's next month's pay-per-view. So there you go.
Yeah.
But could it easily main event the Astrodome? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, my question is for number 14, could you see the Good Father fight Kurt Angle at WrestleMania?
No. No. Flat out no. I can't see any. If you are a Right to Censor member, you are automatically DQ'd.
So Good Father does not have a shot.
No. So Good Father does not get a shot here with that one. Number 15 is the man who makes his debut to a huge pop at the Rumble the year earlier in 2000 against Kurt Angle. It was Taz. So do I see Taz at this point in the game, much to the chagrin to the lifelong ECW fans and that stuff, I don't see him main eventing WrestleMania X-Seven. Do I think WWF dropped the ball on Taz? Yes. I think that they should have basically brought him in as Paul was hyping him in ECW. This pint size, you know,
Oompa Loompa
suplex monster, you know, that would just throw you. That's it. And yeah, but the way that they've brought him in, the way that they've basically super cooled him to this point, yeah, I think that Taz, the wrestler, was not long for WWE. I think Taz, the commentator, though, was one of the best career moves that he has made to kind of salvage something out of it.
Yeah, I think he was dealing with a lot of injuries at this time, too, already in his career. Taz, no, not main event. Sorry, Taz.
That's right. So number 16, Bradshaw. Again, like we were talking about, number 4, Farouk. The Acolytes tag team, APA is big at the time in the tag team division. They're basically feuding with Too Cool, or maybe doing stuff with whoever else, you know, Right to Censor, you name it. So yeah, keep them there. Does Bradshaw at that point in the game be a main? Is he a main eventer for WrestleMania X-Seven? No. Is he eventually a WrestleMania main eventer? Yes. Should he have been eventually a WrestleMania main eventer? That's the, well, that's for another time. That's a rant for another video because it'll take too long here.
I will say during this match, they made Bradshaw House of Fire with his clothesline from hell. They let him do it to everyone in the ring. So they did give him some time to put himself over.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe he gave himself time to put himself over.
And I love this era of Bradshaw, basically from his start of the singles run in 98 on through the beginning of the John Bradshaw Layfield gimmick in 04. I love this era of Bradshaw because he's just this big Texan that'll throw a lariat at you. He's Stan Hansen. Yeah. He's Stan Hansen at this point is what he is. WWF version of Stan Hansen.
You like Justin Hawk Bradshaw?
You know, that, man, well, that was 96. So yeah, why not? Sure.
Are part of the new Blackjacks, Bradshaw.
I like the new Blackjacks. I thought they were good. Yeah. I thought they were all right. So number 17, Albert. So Test and Albert are still walking out with Trish's music, even though that they have separated Trish from Test and Albert at this point. Albert's with
X-Pac, I think now.
Have they started X Factor at this point? Basically?
They're starting. He started to tag.
Okay.
Yeah, Test and Albert have broken up now.
Okay. So he's just using Trish's music for whatever reason because it's Albert, which kind of threw me off. I wasn't sure if they were still tagging or not. But
so does the Great Tenzai have a shot at WrestleMania?
Not at this point. Maybe as the Great Tenzai, he would have had a better shot, but not as Albert at this point. So again, one of these guys that's kind of marred in the hardcore division at this point. So
Albert is A-Train, I think, would have had a good shot to maybe be a main eventer, but Albert 2001, no.
Number 18, Hardcore Holly, or the guy that everybody infamously is known now, I guess I should say, as the guy that walked into WWE Creative one day and said, "Why hell, put the belt on me and just have me beat everybody." I admire his gumption. I really do. Does Hardcore Holly in 2001 have what it takes to get to WrestleMania X-Seven? No, he does not. I think that the stigma of the hardcore division, unfortunately, is still on him because the hardcore division is still a thing. So
I like Sparky Plug. Hardcore Holly, no, he will get the main event or Royal Rumble in the near future, though.
Yes, he will. Absolutely. So, all right, we'll go to number 19. Okay, so 19 is very interesting. Number 19 here is K Quick, FKA today's R-Truth. This is his rookie year, if not maybe 2 years into the business or so, because I think he debuted in about 98 or 99 or so, and the Carolina Indies and everything. He has this is during his cup of coffee here with WWF the first time around. He eventually gets let go because of being in the wake of the Road Dogg thing and that stuff. Road Dogg's not in this Rumble because Road Dogg's fighting his demons and I think is in rehab at this point. And K Quick, R-Truth, Ronda Truth Killings, ends up going to a little startup about a year later, put together by the Jarretts and the National Wrestling Alliance called NWA Total Nonstop Action, where he ends up basically blossoming and becoming their top guy, so on and so forth. So at this point in 2001, do I see K Quick main eventing WrestleMania X-Seven? No, but I would have loved to seen him in like in a European Championship match or one of the lower card titles to see what he could do against a guy like William Regal or heck, put him in the ring against Benoit for the Intercontinental title at a B pay-per-view and let's see what he's got.
Yeah, no, K-Quick's not quite ready. He's still a young rookie. I mean, we look at him now, and he's one of the oldest guys on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
So how time flies.
Yes, the past 20 years have been R-Truth's time to shine. So, but this is baby R-Truth here. This is K-Quick. So, yeah, not at this point do I see him main eventing WrestleMania X-Seven. If he could time travel and get in a DeLorean, does the 24/7 R-Truth main event WrestleMania X-Seven? Sure, why not?
You think you're special?
Yeah, exactly. So, your buddy Val Venus is in at 20.
This Val Venus has had a career crash since '99 to 2001. He was a top upper mid carder. He was, had a pretty good character. Now he's just part of the job squad.
He is, and he really is. He's right to censor here. Again, being a right to censor member, in my opinion, disqualifies you from the main event at WrestleMania X-Seven. So you got to write him off and see him. They're basically there to help build up Ivory and Chyna. That's what that all is at this point. It's a faction. It's Vince's dig at the Parents Advisory Council in the States. That's what it is. So,
what are you talking about, pal? I see it. Val Venus, Kurt Angle, WrestleMania.
Maybe in the video game, but not in real life. But here's a very interesting one at 21. William Regal.
He just came back from being a man. Such a man. He's a real man's man.
But is he the man for WrestleMania X-Seven's main event?
No. Which sucks because I love William Regal.
I do too.
He should have been a world title contender, a world title champion once or twice in his career, but just circumstances have never allowed that to happen.
I do too. I love William Regal, but I don't see him in 2001 as being. I think his ceiling is Intercontinental Champion at this point,
Which he feuded with Jericho, I think, eventually.
And he holds the Intercontinental title, I think, at certain points during the year, if not into 2002, because the opening match of WrestleMania X8 is RVD versus William Regal. I believe it is for
European title.
That's for the European title, right? But that's still a mid-card belt at that point. So, that is he's a mid-card title holder. He's happy being a mid-card title holder. Let him be the mid-card title holder and put his ceiling as a sound guy that you can put the Intercontinental title on at that point and carry on. And unfortunately, being in the mid-card, you don't main event. You don't go on last. So this is probably the one main event he got into on a pay-per-view in 2001 was the Royal Rumble match. So there we go. We move on to number 22 and Test.
Test. This is a test. Test. No. Sorry, getting feedback here, Test. Sorry, Test. You're going to have to sit in the curtain for this one.
In 2001 at WrestleMania X-Seven, Kurt Angle versus Test for the WWF Championship. No, don't see it. It doesn't ring the bell at all. So
again, a guy who would have been better to win maybe in 99 or 2000, but he's now lower mid-card.
Yep, he's lower mid-card. He is in mid-card hell for that period of time, with the odd exception of Survivor Series 2001, where he wins the multi-company battle royal and is exempted from being fired from WWE for a full year, which is a weird little quirk.
But then they did nothing around that.
They did nothing, absolutely nothing around that. But a lot of people forget about him, is that at one point he was, and he was a heel, and they were going to rebuild him off of this Rumble, or not Rumble win, but this Battle Royal win. So he would win a Battle Royal, but it just wouldn't be the Rumble in 2001. So Um, 23. Oh, we might have another entrant here. The Big Show for 23.
Fresh up from OVW.
Yes, the returning Big Show who I think this is off of an injury stint or something like that. Where was this performance?
This was performance and body weight loss.
So a thinner, trimmer Big Show shows up at the Royal Rumble, makes his grand return. Was one of the big guys that you were saying, one of the big two, basically, between Rock and Big Show for the 2000 Royal Rumble. Do I see him as a player in 2001 for the main event at WrestleMania X-Seven? Controversially, yes, I do. I see him as another player. Because if you're going to throw Kane in there as a monster, you're going to throw The Rock in there as your smiling babyface. You want this returning juggernaut monster into play as well, I would think. So could I easily see, hypothetically, The Rock versus Big Show with all of their history from the previous year going head-to-head at WrestleMania X-Seven in the main event? I think it would take a lot of selling on Vince's part and that stuff to get that match on last. But do I see it as part of like a double main event build or something? Hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, Big Show. He didn't have a great year in 2001. He eventually would become lower mid card near the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But watching the Rumble 01, as soon as his music popped, the fans just lost their mind.
Yes, it's a huge pop. Huge pop. So it translates. It's not just on this DVD set. They might have sweetened the sound in post or whatever like that. But on the version that you watched, by the way, we didn't disclose what version of the pay-per-view did you watch on? Did you
network?
Network. Okay. So on a network, it's still a huge pop.
Yep. Yeah, his music goes off. Jerry Lawler's like, what? And then the crowd's like, ah.
Yeah, it's a natural pop then. Yeah, so definitely. Yeah, I could see, and it's an easy build. You could build Big Show up and just basically have him even sit down with JR and do a face-to-face with him saying, hey, listen, after WrestleMania last year, I was in the main event for that one, and I lost, and this happened, and I wasn't happy with my performance and whatever, and then
you could have done the redemption storyline.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a redemption storyline.
I was told I was not good enough. I got sent down. Yep. I had to punish myself. I had to train. I had to work with these nobodies. I had to come back up. I had to dig through the mud. I'm back.
It's a redemption storyline, but you make it heel worthy. So yeah, you have him lay waste to the hardcore division guys one night on Raw. You have him interfere in a few main events and that stuff. Yeah, I could definitely see this build happen. Definitely.
Yeah, you can even put him at No Way Out with. I know they do Triple H to Austin, but you can have him interfere in that match and just choke slam everyone through tables.
Sure, non-finish to that one. Yeah,
just monster it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. You know, you have the lead in the ratings at this point because WCW is about a month away from closing shop. So.
And nobody's really getting over on that Scott Steiner fraction who did it storyline.
The only guy that's getting over is because of a very dangerous finisher. That's it. And that's Gregory Helms. So and a vertebreaker. So which, you know, he never did again when he came over to WWF. So what have you? Boom.
How about number 24? Does Elroy have a chance to win and go to WrestleMania?
Does Mike Lockwood, a.k.a. Crash Holly, have a chance to win and go to WrestleMania X-Seven? No, I don't think so. I made the case for Big Show. I'm not going to make the case for Crash Holly. He's hardcore division through and through. And, you know, maybe lower mid-card is his ceiling, but we're talking about a dyed-in-the-wool heat velocity type guy. So there we go.
Crash he's a comedy heel.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, and yeah, he's just a comedy heel versus The Rock, just not going to work.
Number 25, The Undertaker. 25, The Undertaker in 2001.
Yeah.
don't forget, the streak is still in play now, too, for WrestleMania. You know, even though it would be a year later that we just recently found out that Taker would actually clue in that there was a winning streak and that they started building that up as a thing, it would be, you know, still, you know, sitting there for a year or so. Yeah, obviously you would have him in your main event picture. Obviously, could you see him in the main event of WrestleMania X-Seven? I think absolutely, but it would take some real finagling, I think, in adjusting some stuff. You could have Austin Undertaker in your main event for X-Seven, but you would have to get Stone Cold kind of platooned into that Triple H, Kurt Angle, WWF title picture fairly quickly in February, if that's the case, for that.
Who told Triple H to tell Rikishi to hit you? It was the dead man.
Maybe something like that, but you know, two Texas guys going at it in a main event
in Texas.
In Texas, yeah, I could see that happening. I really could. I just think it would be too complicated of a build for. It wouldn't be as epic as Stone Cold and The Rock was.
But remember, right now we don't know The Rock wins at No Way Out, so it could be Undertaker, Kurt Angle.
So if we're looking at Undertaker, Kurt Angle, yeah, I could see that, but I would think that would be a very underwhelming main event. And coming off of 2000, where they threw everybody in hell in a handbasket out there for the main event, and it just ended up being this real cluttered mess. I mean, he's definitely deserving, and he could really. I'd say that he definitely qualifies to be in that main event talk for X-Seven, but I really, really have a hard time trying to get him into the picture.
He's a contender, but the story is hard to write. You're saying.
Exactly. So I'll list him in as a contender for that. So we can.
That's our fourth contender.
That's our fourth contender. So we've automatically doubled the amount of contenders from 2000 to 2001. So, which is great.
That's a good thing. We're not quite at 92 level, but
where everybody had a shot in that. Well, maybe Nikolai Volkov didn't have a shot at it.
You think Skinner could have won?
Okay, maybe not Skinner. Well, 20 out of 30. That's not bad.
20 out of 30 ain't bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
how about number 26?
Scotty Too Hottie. Basically, what happens in the Rumble match is he comes out, and this is after Kane and Undertaker just clean house, get out of the ring, and the Brothers of Destruction are running wild. They are in the middle of the ring, standing off. Scotty comes out, and basically it looks like he has crapped his pants when he comes out in front, because his eyes are wide, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm going to go ahead and go through it. And it goes about as well as you would figure it would. So just due to that performance alone, Scotty Too Hottie, I'm sorry, you are not going to the main event of WrestleMania X-Seven, and I do not see you as a legit contender.
Scotty Too Hottie, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay.
27, Stone Cold Steve Austin. We know that, yes, he wins the Rumble. We know that, yes, he ends up being in the main event for WrestleMania X-Seven. So there, by default, is another contender. So we're at 5.
Yeah.
At this point. So
we don't really need to discuss the winner because he won the thing and he's every well deserving to win the thing.
Exactly. And I think that, to have what they consider to be healthy Austin back at the time, and not use him in the main event at WrestleMania would have been kind of dumb. So it's the next year in 2002 is when they decided not to use him in the main event, and things start to kind of go a little wacky, in the subsequent months and that stuff, because you had the NWO and so on, and
just Scott Hall Stone Cold.
Yeah. Which is out of all of Austin's WrestleMania appearances and that stuff, I think that is the worst WrestleMania match that Austin has ever had, is against Scott Hall.
Didn't he fight Miro once? Or am I thinking Triple H? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyways, yes.
Yep. So, anyways, 28, Billy Gunn.
The one.
Billy Gunn.
The one.
He sounds like an FM station at this time. You're listening to the one, Billy Gunn. Maybe
does the one main event WrestleMania?
No. The one does not main event WrestleMania. Not at all. I don't see it. I really don't. I see him maybe, like I said, another guy where the mid card is the ceiling. Maybe he's in the hardcore division a little bit and that stuff. But tag team is more his game, and the pairing with Palumbo is coming later that year. So
it's coming.
It's coming. So there are better days ahead for Billy. But I'm just saying.
And he's still wrestling today.
The Gun Club, yes, exactly. So, with his 2 kids, which is really cool. So, to he's one of the few. There's him. There's Ray, who's wrestling with his kid. Who else? Maybe Steve Corino, but that's about it. That's all I can think of.
Rikishi did a tag team, but that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rikishi tagged with the Usos. So
yeah.
That's kudos to him. Right on. Takes a guy to keep himself into some serious shape to do that. So awesome. 29, the second of the returning legends in this battle royal. Haku.
The man known as Meng.
Well, he has the Meng hair, but it's the Haku name in WWF, and it's not King Haku, it's just Haku here. The hair
Haku-mania.
The hair is tremendous. And it's just think the absolute opposite of my colleague Mr. Moorhouse here. With the hair. It's just like a full on, like we're talking like 20-foot afro off the top. And just a dangerous dude. Like he's one guy that, okay, if you want to style your hair like that, you go ahead, bro. I'm not telling you otherwise. Yeah.
Do you see Haku-mania?
No, I don't see him at Mania in the main event spot. So he's not a contender for that main event for whatever reason. But he is definitely a contender for the hardcore title. I think he could run Juggernaut in the hardcore division in 2001 at that time. And I think they did a good idea bringing him in to see if A, he had anything left, and B, if he would fit in and kind of help with the younger guys on the B shows and that stuff and whatever. Man, I think that's also maybe a natural opponent for the Undertaker at a B pay-per-view or something like that. Maybe during the summer or fallish or something like that. If you're doing monthly pay-per-views, maybe you have him and Haku in a no holds barred type thing. But
Haku likes to play video games. The Undertaker likes to drink Jack Daniels. They just don't get along. Current wrestling topic.
Yeah. Very heated current wrestling topic. I can't believe what both sides are saying out of this, honestly, to tell you the truth out of that. But I saw that quote from the Undertaker and I kind of just rolled my eyes a little bit, and it's like, dude, it's just a different time.
Yeah, he's already he got heat from Woods already.
Yeah, it's just a different time, man. That's it. So, and finally, Rikishi, who we knew coming into the pay-per-view, got number 30. I guess he won it on a previous week of Monday Night Raw or something like that. He won the number 30 spot in the match. He had been working main events on Raw and SmackDown leading up to this Rumble, and actually throughout the year of 2001. Do I see him as a main event player? Well, actually throughout the year of 2000, I should say. Not so much in 2001. He kind of falls off. This is like really the last we see of Rikishi in like an upper mid card and then main event type build and that stuff till, for the rest of his career.
Peak Rikishi.
What does he do at Mania at X-Seven?
I don't think he's there.
He's not there. So yeah, It's a shocker, but just because of the past few months leading into the Rumble that year, I would say that, yeah, he's a contender. But the thing is basically the carpet gets pulled out from underneath him shortly thereafter. So
you say this is our 6th contender?
This is our 6th contender, yes. Yeah. So ironically, and I also want to take a look at this too. What in 2000, which pay-per-view was the big Hell in a Cell 6-man cage thing? Was that Armageddon?
That was the one just before this.
So Armageddon 2000. Who were the people that were in that main event?
We had your Olympic hero.
Okay.
We had the Brahma Bull.
Mm-hmm.
We had Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Cerebral Assassin.
Yep.
We had the Dead Man.
Yep.
And we had a car driver.
Yeah, Rikishi. So 4 out of the 6 that we have mentioned to be potential contenders here were main eventers the last pay-per-view. Wonder what they were booking there. I think that's basically their class. They figured with those 6 guys they could interchange main events and interchange people in and out. And then they finally, at the beginning of the year brought Kane up again so they could have a 7th, I guess. So, like the only change in this is Kane. That's it.
Yeah.
From that. So that's it. So yeah, so those to me are the 6 legit guys out of the 2001 Royal Rumble that you can see in that main event at WrestleMania X-Seven. So
before we close, I'm going to put out some notables here that missed the Rumble.
Okay, go for it.
Eddie Guerrero.
He was not, was he with the company or not?
He was. He wrestled the pay-per-views in between.
Okay, so they just weren't using him here at all.
They didn't book him.
Maybe rehab or something for his demons at the time, or
he was in the IC. He's right now fighting for the IC at No Way Out and Armageddon. So he was just forgotten about.
Okay, so they just left him off for whatever reason. All right.
Yeah. X-Pac.
Well, 2001 is not good for X-Pac.
No, but he's been there. Who else is missing? Dean Malenko.
Okay.
He's still around.
Yeah, I think Malenko retires, quote unquote, from active in-ring competition at the end of 01 is what I remember. Yeah. So
who else are we missing here? Sorry, I'm just looking at pay-per-view cards around here.
Yeah.
We are missing Edge and Christian, but they had a tag team match, so that's fine.
Yeah, and this is, I was going to bring this up too. This is one of the rare Rumbles where nobody in the earlier matches comes back to work the Rumble match.
It's pretty much all we're missing, to be honest.
The only person you see that comes back at all from earlier in the card during the Rumble match was Triple H. That's it. So.
Yeah, so the big 2 notables that are missing would be Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko and X-Pac. Those are the 3.
There you go. So that's it. Well, there we go. That's our look at the 2001 Royal Rumble. Basically, the match itself and who had a legit shot at WrestleMania X-Seven and who didn't out of this one. Throw your comments below if you agree with any of this or if this is fairly cut and dry or not or whatever. But later days, happy wrestling watching. I'm Kellen Nitro. All of my social media is basically at Kellen Nitro across the board. And Moorhouse, you are on Twitch. So take us through what you're doing on Twitch right now.
I'm at That House in Canada on Twitch, and I just stream everything. Today I was streaming some NHL earlier. I made a controversial trade and having fun with that.
Controversial trade. Ooh. The phone-in lines will be busy. So if you guys like this type of stuff, comment below. And if you don't, also tell us that we don't have to do it anymore. Yeah, this was just a really cool kind of look back. 20 years ago, this pay-per-view was the talk of everybody in schools and WWF fans, you name it. So it's one of the best out of the Attitude Era. And it's hard to believe that this pay-per-view is 20 years old now. It makes us feel old. It makes us extremely old. So, again, later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll see you next time on Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited.